went to the Sydney Entertainment Centre. It was excitement galore as Australia's best took on an American invasion. To mark the 10th anniversary of the Masters, promoters arranged for 4 Americans to be in the field of the 250 class, and they didn't disappoint. Veteran Guy Cooper, former world FIM champ Mike Jones, indoor specialist Jimmy Gaddis, and the now domiciled Eddie Warren were Uncle Sam's representatives. Supercross, though, is a young man's sport, and both Cooper and Warren readily agreed the helter-skelter track would be tough.
Well, the tighter tracks are tough for me. I'd rather see a bigger track, you know, with more technical stuff in it. I think I'd shine a little bit better there, but I realize it's a small track and you've got to get in there and you can't open up any holes. And, you know, I was leading that last semi and opened it up, and he came right under me. So you just gotta ride a little bit different, and my riding style is maybe a little bit squelched on something like this. So I don't know, I'm gonna give it what I can and try not to open up those lines.
As the heats passed and semis drew closer, it became apparent that Ashkenazi, the defending champion, was doing it tough. The old men were all fired up, and he just wasn't making the best starts. On the other hand, Dynamite Jones was in a class all of his own. His starts, perfect, and he was one of the few riders able to pull away from the pack. Jimmy Gaddis, the American arena champ, was also sharp, winning all of his qualifying races. The traditional expression session was one of the best ever seen in Sydney, as Danny Ham, bike 111, started the radical aeronautics. Guy Cooper went one better with the crowd, but when Mike Jones fronted bare-chested for his run, the crowd could not believe their eyes. Hands behind his back, he just made it to win the spectacular award of the night. In the 250 Masters final, it was Jones who got the jump to lead teammate Gaddis, then Warren and Troy Doran. Doran then came a cropper when he upended himself and became trapped beneath his Yamaha. Fortunately, he was okay, but on the restart, Jones tore to the front with Warren and Gaddis in hot pursuit. Gaddis came down on lap 1, which enabled Warren and Cooper to trail until they dropped late in the race, allowing the Jones boy to pick up the $10,000 cheque from Aussie aces Peter Melton and Craig Anderson.
I feel real good. It is my first race that I've won out here in Australia, and I want to say I've been saving it for the big 10th anniversary $10,000 final. I'm real happy about it. It's probably going to take about a week to get the smile off my face, so I'm just real pumped, and the spectators are just great tonight, and I'm just glad to be here.
Well done, Mike Jones, and what a showman that rider is, and no doubt will...
Eastern Creek Raceway in Sydney's west, and another street meet is about to begin on the track. The meets were kicked off early last year in the hope they'd reduce illegal and potentially deadly drag races on city streets. Indications are they're working. As the sun sets, vehicles are safety checked before competing on the standing quarter mile. Why do they do it?
Oh, a bit of fun. I've got my best mate here, and we're just here to have some fun, basically. Yeah, it'd be a lot of fun. The adrenaline rush. Scary.
Fun's certainly a big motivator, but some of these drivers take their fun very seriously.
It's picked up about 13 trophies, I think.
Has it really? How fast are you going this?
Over at the quarter.
Yeah.
13.3 at 106. But that's not, it's got street gears in it, so it's not too bad.
I've had the car for 6 years, and it's always consistently getting built and always stripped apart. When you race a car, you always got maintenance to doing it.
Yeah.
Never-ending story.
With so much devotion, can a car become like a member of the family?
Yes, it's worse. The car's got, I don't know, the car's always put first. The car comes first in everything. So.
Ahead of you?
Yes, sometimes.
Ahead of the baby?
Yes. Car comes first all the time.
This is the moment these drivers have been waiting for. One of the advantages of racing here is that at the end of the quarter mile, each driver is given a computer printout, a time card, which proves exactly how fast they and their cars can go. Now, I'm not a revette, but I have to tell you, all this noise and smoke and speed does get into your blood. I just hope the Red Terror can take it. Well, I certainly wasn't as fast as some, but now I really do understand the attraction.
Peter Ford takes it in the Channel 7 station wagon, a 19-0.
Yeah, what's your number?
7.
Right.
It says 18.9. We'll have to get the news director to give us bigger engines, I think.
I think so.
And racing slicks. And aerofoils.
Eastern Creek's motorsport manager, Kevin Prendergast, admits he was bitten by the racing bug long ago. What does driving under these conditions do for budding drag racers?
Well, it teaches them some discipline in racing. We hear the hoon element doing burnouts in the street and so forth. Now, burnouts are part of drag racing, but it teaches the discipline of driving, actually teaches them how to control, how to operate their car properly, and it's good for them, and they have fun as well.
The next Eastern Creek Raceway street meet is on Friday, the 1st of September. You can register from 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Racing starts at 5 and goes on until 10 o'clock at night. The cost for racing drivers is $30, adult spectators $12, student spectators 14 to 17 years $5, and children under 13 get in free. If you want more information, phone the Raceway on 672-1000.
Good afternoon, wherever you're viewing around Australia. I'm Steve Raymond. Welcome to Speedweek on SBS, as always proudly brought to you by the spacious Suzuki Baleno. Backdrop for today's program is Sydney's Eastern Creek Raceway, where this weekend the top fuelers are contesting their grand final showdown. As any drag racing fan would know, this is Graham Cowan's top fueler. But guess who's in the cockpit? As any Speedway fan would know, it's 23-year-old Brooke Tatnell, one of Australia's finest sprint car stars. Meanwhile, Graham Cowan is on a learning curve in Brooke's 700 horsepower winged wonder. And who's in the cockpit of Jim Reed's top fueler? Well, he's a former NASCAR and sprint car national champion. Max Stumsney's the name, a guy always looking for a new challenge. Today on Speedweek, we decided to bring together some of this nation's top sprint car stars with our top fuel stars, just to determine how much they have in common. Also on today's agenda, we're headed for Hockenheim in Germany, coverage of the Mercedes-dominated European Touring Car Championship. More two-wheel action in the Shell Oil's Australian Road Racing Championships from Wanneroo in Western Australia. Speedweek cameras are on hand to capture highlights of the annual Alfa Romeo 6-hour Enduro at Sydney's Eastern Creek. We'll join the legends of motorsport competing in their inaugural Go-Kart Classic at Sydney's Entertainment Centre. The Appendix J fraternity battle on in atrocious conditions at Oran Park, and the trucks do likewise, only they do it in the dark. That's all ahead on Speedweek, proudly presented by the spacious Suzuki Baleno. Ask some drag racing fanatics about Speedway and they'll talk about those funny looking things with wings that run around in circles. Ask their Speedway counterparts and you'll hear about dragsters simply running down the line in order to beat time. Of course, both forms of competition are far more complex than that. Surprisingly, for Brooke Tatnell and Max Stumsney, this is their first intimate glimpse of a top fueler in action.
I couldn't believe that it was there and gone so quickly though. Like a lot of noise, and I thought, yeah, it's going to be going, but it was gone. Like, unbelievable. Like, I had no idea. Like, I've looked from a distance, but to stand so close and see the thing leave so fast, like
TV does it no justice.
No, it's unbelievable. And the track, I can't believe my feet are stuck to it.
Now it's time to turn the tables on Brooke Tatnell. Graham Cowan has a few questions about oval track racing.
Well, you're talking about a drag being slung out of a cannon or whatever. Well, sprint cars basically the same. You don't get slung out quite as hard, but it's more like riding a bucking bronco really on a quarter-mile dirt oval track with ruts in the track and the tackiness of it, and it's
It's very exciting. It's an adrenaline rush. It's the same as anything in motorsports. It's a totally focused business. And it's like being on a bit of string and someone holding that string and winding it round and round and just keep going on the end of the string. But unfortunately, that string sometimes breaks and then it gets really exciting.
Right now, we're about to leave Eastern Creek and head to Western Australia for more highlights of the Shell Oils Road Racing Championships from Wanneroo.
Well, if you thought the first Supersport 600 race a few weeks ago from Wanneroo Raceway was big, wait until you see this action about to unfold. Troy Bayliss, centre of screen, bike 32, makes his way up onto the grid. From the Central Coast in New South Wales, a young man with a huge future. Beside him, Paul Young, the reigning 250 production champion. And on the front row for the first time this season, Malcolm Campbell, two-time Australian Superbike champion. We managed to catch up with him a little earlier.
I've struggled all season, you know, we've had 3 rounds so far, and my prime objective has been to get on that front row. I think you must be on the front row for a good result. There's guys, the last couple of rounds I've noticed, you look at the time chart and there's guys as far back as 10th and they're doing the same lap times as the leader basically, so it's very close. You must be on the front row for a good result, and I've been struggling and endeavouring to get in that position, and I've got there this weekend and I'm very happy about that.
Well, let's see what Mal Campbell can do with this front row grid position. Joining me in commentary, Dr. Helen Malouf. Helen, the front row, all important for a race start.
Absolutely, Greg, and they're just underway now as the green light goes and Troy gets off. Actually, Dean Thomas got the better start there, and you can see Troy making his way up between Paul Young and Dean Thomas, shoves his way into that first corner, and you'll find there'll be a lot of fairing bashing through these first couple of corners until they establish themselves on the first lap of this race group.
Well, I suppose the name of the game is just that, try and establish a position, lay down the gauntlet, say this is my position and I'm going to hang on to it. And look at Troy Bayliss already trying to make that little bit of a break. That's exactly what he did. He didn't get away quite so well, nor has Mal Campbell. He's just come through in the picture there, sitting back in about 6th position. So Mal Campbell, he's going to have to work his way forward very quickly.
Well, actually, Troy was qualifying on scrubbed-in tyres. They were actually quite warm, so he was thinking to himself he could actually do some things with it, and he's showing that right now.
Well, the interesting thing tyre-wise with these guys, they must use the same tyres for both races. A lot of the teams using tyre warmers, which means the tyres virtually come onto the track ready to race temperature-wise. Here we have a battle for second place. That is Dean Thomas up the inside on Paul Young. So Thomas now establishes himself in second place. Paul Young, very experienced in this type of combat out there on the racetrack. He is the reigning 250 production champion. You do not get that position unless you know how to battle side by side, fairing it handlebar to handlebar.
That's right, actually. Paul Young started in buckets, Greg, and worked his way up from there to 250s, came straight up to the front row of the 250 circuit, was only in it for 2 years and got a title, and now he's here on the Supersports.
Well, he's doing what everyone wants to do in this game, that is move their way forward through the classes, find your niche in the game. Mal Campbell there, up and out of the seat, a big power slide for him. Mal Campbell's already won 2 Australian Superbike Championships. He knows what it's like to be at the top. These young guys, that's where they're headed. Here's Paul Young up the inside there of Dean Thomas, and he's doing what they do best here at Wanneroo. There's some great lines coming onto the straight. If you saw the first 600 Supersport race a few weeks ago, you will know that man on screen, bike 2, won by half a wheel, no more. And so this line onto the straight, all important. That's Mal Campbell working over Anthony Perdue.
Yeah, we saw Damon Buckmaster, actually, that's the number 2 machine, get off that line fairly badly, but he's had a lot of problems with fuel pump in practice, so perhaps he's sorting those out, or perhaps he hasn't been.
Well, I hope that they have sorted the machine out. Logic tells you that he's a 2-bike team. He's got all of the gear, and they will change engines, chassis, you name it, whatever it takes to come up with the goods. That's Paul Young, bike 96, ahead of Dean Thomas, and I'd say right at the moment, this is Troy Bayliss territory. He's running away with it, he's getting a bit of a break, and that's all he needs.
That's right, and as long as these 2 guys behind him are battling for second place, they'll be actually going a little bit slower than Troy, and Troy will be pulling more of a lead on every lap. I think I saw Troy a little while ago have a little look behind him. He knows he's got about a second lead there, and I think if he tries to just maintain that, he'll keep his place.
Well, there's a huge battle going on a little further afield here. That's Chris Sinnen now, up the inside of Damon Buckmaster. You know, it's great this class. You just see so many new riders coming to the fore. And this is a big ride here from Sinnen. So so he's looking pretty strong as well. Then it's back to Anthony Perdue, and behind Anthony Perdue, Malcolm Campbell. So any one of probably the first 6 riders well and truly on the pace, and if anyone makes a mistake further forward of them, they're going to jump right through the door that gets left open.
Actually, it's interesting to watch Mal Campbell's ride, because you'll find that into the corners, Mal's coming right up on everybody, and out of the corners, wanting to get through the traffic, but on the straights, they seem to be pulling away from him a little, so I don't know that he's just not on a slightly slower bike there.
Troy Bayliss doesn't seem to have that problem. He's on one fast motorcycle. That's Paul Young in behind him there, bike 96. This is a breaking duel like the very best of them here at Wanneroo. That is Dean Thomas, bike 3, trying to make some ground. But one thing's for sure, this Paul Young is a demon under brakes. He really does enjoy getting late on the brakes. This battle here with Buckmaster and Sinan continues. Sinan has the good line out of the corner leading onto the straight, and Buckmaster seems to be able to make the ground on the far side of the circuit. Each of them might have a different setup with their machine. The 600s, although they're relatively standard, do allow a lot of scope for the setup of the motorcycle. You can decide whether you want the front soft, the rear soft, front hard, rear hard, whatever it might be, and you can come up with a combination between each. That also affects tyre wear considerably.
Yeah, Chris Sinan's actually on a Honda, and David Buckmaster is on a Kawasaki, and you tend to find the Honda can hug that corner a little bit more tightly than the Kawasaki.
Seems to work for him, there's no doubt about that. Chris Sinan putting in a big ride here at the moment. Anthony Perdue still up there as well, bike 9. And right at the moment, though, it is definitely Troy Bayliss territory, simply pulling away from them. The 600 Super Sport class virtually is the last stepping stone before you go to superbike racing. And of course, in Australia, the superbikes are the premier class, and from there, it's a short step to overseas stardom. Just have a look at some of the riders we've got racing overseas, and in fact coming here and only having just raced in the World Superbike races down at Phillip Island. Anthony Gobert, Troy Corser, 2 of our young hopefuls making big inroads into the World Superbike scene, and they have come from this class, used it as a stepping stone, and have gone on to much bigger and better things. Well, the battle here for second place continues to rage. Bike 3, Dean Thomas, doesn't seem to be doing anything as far as the lead, or at least the little bit of a lead, that Paul Young has on him at the moment. The pair of them doing everything they can to try and get up to young Troy Bayliss out in front. But I think, Helen, that they really are slowing each other up, and Troy Bayliss is the winner out of this little group incident at the moment.
Actually, I think Paul Young's bike, if you have a look a little closely, is moving around a little bit more than Dean's is. Dean's riding a little bit more smoothly than Paul, and the last lap, Dean's actually closed that gap between the two of them. Paul's a very good braker, and as his qualifying time reveals, he did get pole position. He actually outbraked a lot of the opposition, and in fact his brakes weren't working so well in qualifying, and that's what he puts it down to.
Well, if you've got to use them, use them. If they don't work, you can't use them. I suppose that means that you are going to be a demon late breaker. This is an absolute enthralling battle going on here, though. You're right, Helen, there's no doubt that the bikes are behaving differently out there, and each seems to be able to take advantage of one portion of a corner versus the other half of the corner, either going in or coming out. It seems that Young is very deep under brakes, gets the thing to turn in, and you can see here that he can turn the bike in later. Dean Thomas seems to have the horsepower and the good drive out. There's Dean Thomas, much more economical leaving the corner. And so it really is a battle of tactics out there. Guess who's looming up behind these two? It is Damon Buckmaster, bike 2. And remember, Buckmaster has been on a charge. Bayliss, Young, Thomas, 1, 2 and 3 here at the fantastic Wanneroo Raceway. This circuit really does lend itself to brave manoeuvres. It is a fast circuit, and I can see there bike 1 just having a real battle here now with Malcolm Campbell. So we've got races within races going on out there. Well, that's Damon Buckmaster, bike 2. He's on a bit of a charge. He's caught up to Dean Thomas. He's brought Chris Sinan along for the ride as well. So bike 5 now coming up to play. This is a 4-way battle for second place.
And I wouldn't be surprised to see Damon Buckmaster stick his front wheel under Dean Thomas there, but Dean's going to have, not going to let Damon in at all.
Well, in fact, Dean really, I suppose, now concentrating on just trying to get past Paul Young. It hasn't been working for the last few laps, and he's really going to have to come up with something big in order to do this, because all the while you've got not only Buckmaster, but Chris Sinan also up here. He's the 4th in that little group. Here's your leader, In fact, there goes your leader. That's Troy Bayliss, bike 32. In 600 Supersport racing, that's quite a lead, and all he has to do really is cruise home. And I mean, not cruise, but certainly not take any risks out there. Paul Young, bike 96, looks very strong. It is Buckmaster now. It's gone past Dean Thomas, so Buckmaster moves himself up into 3rd place, and guess who's next on his shopping list? Sure enough, it'll be Paul Young.
It's very interesting, Greg, to watch the different lines through the corners as Damon comes up on Paul Young's tail. When you're right on somebody's tail, you have to look for a different line. It may not be the fastest line, but it has to be a different line so you can pass, as Damon tries to stick his front wheel and not successful.
Well, last lap now, and it seems to me that Damon Buckmaster is only a few corners away from at least trying to grab 2nd place. Bayliss looks so strong out in front, and Dean Thomas wouldn't be pleased at all finding himself moved back another position with only a few corners to go. It is Buckmaster on the charge. What can he do? He, in fact, is 1.5 corners from home. One big braking manoeuvre. Now, we know Paul Young goes deep, deep, deep under brakes. Let's see what Buckmaster can do. Buckmaster going for the slipstream, jumps to the inside, so he's going to try and hold Paul Young out. Young goes late on brakes. I'm not sure Buckmaster's got an answer for them. All the while, it is Thomas sitting back, can't do anything with it, and so Troy Bayliss gets across the line for the win. Here comes the race for 3rd place. It is Paul Young for 2nd, and side by side with Buckmaster was Dean Thomas. Let's have a look. It is Bayliss for the win. Young and Dean Thomas has gotten up and grabbed 3rd place.
Yes, he's actually grabbed that because Damon Buckmaster made an error on that last corner. He went to outbrake Paul Young and he had to run wide on the exit of that corner because he was just coming in too fast. Dean's capitalised on it.
Once again, superb action from the 600 Supersports. Next week, we'll be bringing you more of the 250 action from the production bikes and the Grand Prix machines. I'd like to thank my co-commentator, Dr. Helen Malouf, and for all you two-wheeled fans, stay tuned. We've got the Superbikes coming up shortly.
OK, we're back at Eastern Creek Raceway, where sprint car star Max Dumsney is about to meet up with one of the true legends of Australian drag racing.
With me here is Victor Bray. Victor, what do you actually call this car?
These cars, obviously sedans, we call them top door slammers. They're the evolution from the Wild Bunch. The Wild Bunch is very well known throughout Australia, and some of the cars started going a little bit too fast and reaching the 6 seconds, 200 mile an hour plus. A little bit hard for the way it's constructed in Dial Your Own Racing. So now we run the cars in a professional category, heads up, with very similar engine and weight combinations.
Like what sort of speed and what sort of time do you get over the quarter compared to the Wild Bunch cars?
At present, this car, the Castrol Chevy, is the quickest car in Australia, quickest door slammer in Australia. It's run a 6.34 at 222 mile an hour, 370 or so kilometres an hour, whatever it calculates out to. But yeah, that's the quickest. And there's a couple of guys knocking on the door, a couple of privateer fellas knocking on the door, and they're the worst minds, as you well know. And no, there's John Zappia in Perth's gone 650, Peter Gratz has gone 650, so, and there's a new car down in Melbourne, George Clasby Studebaker, it'll run 40s or 30s, so no, it's pretty good. It's all coming along, and like I say, at the moment we're the quickest, but that don't last long. It's like hanging onto a wet fish.
As mentioned, Eastern Creek is today showcasing the top fuelers in their grand final for 1995. The track was also alive with action last weekend, but a very different type of event. It was the Alfa Romeo 6-hour classic, and Greg McShane was there for Speedweek.
Touring car legends, we had sprint car legends, touring car legends, they were all there. It was incredible. Time for the repechage now, and the finalists will be determined for the 16-lap FAI Legends of Motorsport, and a clean start for Brooke Tatnall. Wayne Gardner slots into second place. A bit of a gap then back to third place, Neil Bates. Rodney Crick in there as well, along with Glenn Seaton, but it's Gardner pressing hard up towards the hairpin, and he gives Tatnall a punt and goes through to the lead. Hand signals between the two, so Gardner leads Tatnall as they come back into the stadium. 4 from 8. Further back in third place now, it might be Glenn Seaton who's crept up, but these two running away with the repechage.
Isn't it fantastic? Speedway meets touring car racing.
Incredible. You've got a world motorcycle champion, an Australian sprint car champion. Wayne now, of course, very good in touring car racing. There's such a cross-section of drivers from many disciplines of motorsport. Number 4 is Wayne Gardner, the Coca-Cola racing car. They're all in 100cc identical PRD karts. There's Mark Scaife. Fourth place is Rodney Crick. Fifth is Brad Jones. Sixth is Craig Dack, former Mr. Motocross champion. There's the Australian truck racing champion, Brad Jones, NASCAR hero. Oh, and Bates up onto the back of Longhurst, who says, get out of there. And they managed to keep him going. No clutches on the carts, they're direct drive, and Tony's not happy.
Bit of aggro from a few of them.
Well, there's a lot of pride at stake. Everybody wants to be the FAI legend of motorsport. Nobody wants to be a backmarker. Tony didn't appreciate the handbrake. Oh, and Seaton clouts the wall, rotates the PRD, and the former Australian sprint car champion takes a big dump here. Look at this. That's nasty. Mark Scaife dodges. Brad Jones in there as well, and they were lucky to get around. Now, this is the battle for the lead. Wayne Gardner in control at the moment, number 4. Good, clean driving. Not a lot of wheel work, very fine control, uses all of the road. Comes up now to the back of Dick Johnson, cart number 17.
That's Tatnall still just behind.
That's right, the battle for first and second. Here's Gardner down the back straight. And here's Thomas Mazira down the inside of Brock, tries to pull a manoeuvre. Oh, it doesn't come off. And Thomas is upside down. Oh, and Gardner in trouble with Crick, and he is not happy. Tatnall has gone through to the lead. That's Tatnall in the lead, cart number 8. Gardner now in second place. He will be cheesed off. Here's our leader, and the man that takes the checkered flag for the repechage, Brooke Tatnall. Tatnall is wrapped.
A well-deserved victory, and a hugely popular one with the crowd. Right now, it's two-wheeled action from Wanneroo in Western Australia.
Superbikes heading for the grid. This is the second of the races here at Wanneroo, round 4, race 2. And who will it be? Well, that's Kirk McCarthy, and he is out to do a big job on this one. Matt Mladen out of pole beside him, Kirk McCarthy. Sean Giles, bike 19, out of position 3, and Marty Craggle, the second of the TKA, the Team Kawasaki Australia riders, rounding out the front row. Well, we're in the starters' hands. It's a good distance. Who will get the start? Looks to me as if Mladen's gotten away nicely. Ben Archibald from row 2, all the way through into second or third place. McCarthy gets up into second place. Archibald slots himself back into third, and it is Matthew Mladen. Oh, now we've got a challenge for the lead already. It is McCarthy up the inside, so Kirk McCarthy through into the lead. That is Jason McEwen, bike 22, up the inside of Martin Craggle. Gee, I tell you what, there's action aplenty all through the field, and it is Benny Archibald, surely the man on the charge right at the moment. He is looking so strong. McEwen up the inside, so Jason McEwen on the Ducati dealer team machine, determined to make amends for not finishing so highly earlier, and also, of course, some of the dramas that he had in qualifying.
Yes, McEwen not having such a good year in Australia, coming over from New Zealand to take the place in the Ducati team. I expected better things of him. Oh, look at him getting the bike pretty loose there. But he's really a racer, and he's decided this time that hang the expense, he's going to go for it. But young Benny Archibald sitting there watching every move that he's taking, making the Ducati, I would have thought, as you said earlier, would have been a bit more suited to this circuit. But I think probably their lack of practice here on these new machines, these new 916 machines, is probably hurting them a little bit.
Yes, I think probably that is exactly their drama. They just have not had enough time to set the machine up. Kirk McCarthy, though, on an absolute flyer. Now, he's got himself a pretty decent break. It's McCarthy, Mladen and McEwen. And Jason McEwen, ooh, gee, that looked a bit rugged there. The bike stepping out there for McCarthy. But McEwen cleaned them up in round 3 down at Baskerville, Tasmania. Absolutely blew the doors off everyone and took both races. So he really does feel as if he's got what it takes. That's Matthew Mladen on screen, and he looks very strong on the motorcycle as well. And here comes Robbie Baird, bike 9, looking up the inside there of Martin Craggle. That's the second of the Ducati machines there, bike 19. But sitting back a little further there is Sean Giles. I'm not sure why he's not up front, and probably he's asking himself the same question. The man up front, though, Kirk McCarthy, bike 6. He looks very tidy out there at the moment. Look at him hang off the side of the motorcycle, really working the bike hard. Right in behind him, here comes Matthew Mladen on the charge, and coming along for the ride, bike 22, Jason McEwen. So McEwen determined now to try and make some sort of inroads into the points here at Wanneroo, but the race is on for first place. The Kawasaki has the horsepower. Up and out of the basin he comes. Here is Matthew Mladen on a charge, up the inside wide he goes. McCarthy won't like that too much, and he'll try and get at least to the inside, make some sort of a fist of it along the front straight here. Can't do it. It is Matthew Mladen into the lead. And gee, looks unstoppable right at the moment. Very forceful is Matthew Mladen. Looks very strong. Here is another race going on here for third place. That is Martin Craggle, second of the Team Kawasaki riders. In behind him, Jason McEwen, and right behind them, Robbie Baird, the second of the Team Honda riders.
It's interesting to note here on this replay of Matthew going under Kirk. Look at the difference in the size of the rider. Matt quite tall and lanky. Kirk McCarthy ideally suited, sits right down into that Honda. Really suited to that bike. Matthew gets a little bit of a weave here on the way out, tucks himself in now. But Matthew extended his lead here now. I'd say we've missed a little bit there around the back, and he's pulled a little bit of a gap on the Kirk McCarthy. But Matthew riding nice and smoothly this weekend. Each lap passes, he's gaining in confidence.
Yes, there's no doubt that his confidence is up. When he is confident, he is nigh on unbeatable. Oh, Jason McEwen has thrown the Ducati down under brakes. Coming into the last turn onto the straight here. Bad luck for him. Gee, won't be happy about that. Twice in the one weekend. Just goes to show how hard he's working the bike. But McCarthy, he is working his bike hard. And this is Matthew Mladen, your leader, on screen, on a charge. No doubt about that. And I think McCarthy, well, he knows that he's got what it takes. All he has to do is just settle in and try and protect tyres. But right now, though, that is a huge gap. As Matthew Mladen crosses the line, he'd be seeing P1. So position 1 plus a lot. There's no doubt about that. The battle for third here continues, and that is Robbie Baird out wide on the Honda, looking for drive out of the corner sideways, all the way out of the basin. Oh, that is exciting riding. On his last lap, Matthew Mladen heading for victory, and this will make it 2 out of 2 for him. But gee, Robbie Baird riding the wheels off that Honda. He is remarkable when it comes to wanting to power slide his motorcycles. Looks absolutely fantastic. The crowd on their feet watching the Superbike action. This is better than the best anywhere in the country, and these are the best Australia has to offer. Benny Archibald up the inside there of Robbie Baird. Baird sideways, fighting wheel spin across the line. They're on their last lap. It's a drag race for these two. And remember, the privateer, the bike 69, Ben Archibald, fights back, hangs on to that place, and really is making Robbie Baird ride for it. Again, Baird sideways. I think his rear tyre has completely gone away. Definitely shot past its use-by date. That doesn't bother him in the slightest. He's out there and using it for all he can. Our leader, though, Matthew Mladen, has simply drawn away. Lap after lap, he has put together a brilliant race. Here he is on screen for the final time, down the back straight here. And gee, he looks strong under brakes. He knows that he's put this one together, and he has done it well. Has a good look behind, can't see anyone, decides to put it into neutral and cruise to the line. A brilliant performance from Matthew Mladen. 2 out of 2. He's your second place man. Kirk McCarthy lifts the front wheel across the line. And in third place will be the second of the Team Kawasaki Australia riders, Marty Craggle. Good run from him, and he'll be pleased with picking up 2/3 for the day. Mladen, McCarthy and Craggle. Race to round 4 of the Australian Superbike Championship. Well, it's been a brilliant performance from Kawasaki. Matthew Mladen from pole position, 2 out of 2. Congratulations, Matt, a big ride.
Yeah, it was great. We've basically done the same thing as the first race. I think the race probably overall over the 25 laps might have been quite a bit quicker. It was a lot cooler out there in the last one. I think the track temperature would have been down to 8 or 10 degrees. So no, it all went well for us. Kirk got a runner at the start, and we caught back up and got past and got out to 5 or 6 seconds and just held it there.
Well, to the victors go the spoils. What brilliant action once again from the Australian Road Racing Championship and the Superbike riders. For a change of pace, let's now head to Europe and check out all of the action in the 2.5 litre series, the DTM series for European touring cars.
He's one of the kings of Powerball. And Hammer never misses an opportunity to live up to his name. While Storm, as usual, does things her way.
The secret of rope climbing is to grab
drive the person next to you and pull them off. Very easy.
Coming up, we'll see how the gladiators stay fighting fit when they hit an army assault course.